Last weekend I played Drytron in the Genesys Proto YCS at the 300th YCS in Dortmund. I finished 8-3 but sadly missed out on the top 8 top cut. Here's my deck list and some thoughts on the deck. I was playing one copy of Alpha Thuban. This searches any ritual monster. It's great, but it's not as good as they make it out to be because they pointed this with 33 points. They should maybe lower his points. I suggest to maybe 20 or something. Then 3 Zeta Aldiba. Zeta Aldiba searches any ritual spell as opposed to the Alpha Thuban, which searches any ritual monster. 3 Gamma Altanen. This gives you back another buddy, which is really nice if you want to threaten an early Zeus, for example. 3 Delta Altais. This can draw you a card, which is great if you want to dig for cards after thinning your deck. 3 copies of Nu-2. This probably is the best Drytron monster. It searches any Drytron monster, but it locks you into only summoning machine rituals for the whole turn if you want to use its effect. This is why you can't really splash anything in Drytron if you want to play a good version of Drytron, because Alpha Thuban has 33 points. Nu-2 is really good. You can technically summon him of 1-for-1 as well, but 1-for-1 has way too many points. So this is just great in the grind game because it can summon itself from the graveyard, but it doesn't have to tribute anything, and it searches any Drytron monster on summon. Then 1 copy of Beta Rastaban. This is pretty much just there to play around floodgates like D-Fissure or Shifter, because this can return a banished Drytron monster to the graveyard. This works even if we are under Shifter, so you can use something like a special summon of Nu-2 to search a Beta Rastaban, and then Beta Rastaban, tribute Nu-2. Nu-2 is banished under Shifter, obviously. Return Nu-2 to the graveyard, and then you can special summon Nu-2 from the graveyard because you control a Drytron card. And then you can go into an Xyz and then go into a Zeus, and then out a D-Fissure, for example. It's a really good card in the grind game because it also returns the Drytrons you banished yourself, and I can only recommend playing this at least 1 copy. Maybe even 2 or 3, I'll be honest, at least in this format. Then 1 copy of Ultimate Shining Knight Ursatron Alpha. He searches any Drytron spell or trap. He is decent. He's mostly good because sometimes people will try to negate your Zeta Aldiba because they want to keep you off the ritual spells, and then you can still use the Ursatron to get yourself a ritual spell. This also searches the field spell and then the ritual spell, so you get an additional interruption. So it's kind of slightly better than the Zeta Aldiba. For the ritual monsters, we are playing every single one at 1. We are playing the one that's a back row wipe because there are quite many back row decks in Genesys format. 1 copy of the Beatstick, that's great going second, and 1 copy of Dad. This is by far the best ritual monster, but it's a little bit hard to get out. You can still make him nip proof most of the time. Like you can do this on the 5th summon, or you can like do it even earlier if you want to. It's really good to end on this, but people like to play Kaijus. It's still a really good card. For the Drytron spells, we are playing a 2 copy of Drytron Fafnir. I cannot recommend this, I'll be honest, because you should be playing 1 copy of Drytron Fafnir and 1 copy of Meteonis and 2 copy of Meteonis Drytron. I could only find 1 copy of Meteonis Drytron though, it kind of hurts if your opponent holds a Cosmic Cyclone, for example, and wants to banish your Meteonis Drytron. So it's always nice to have a second one as a backup. You can use the Drytron Fafnir only once per turn anyway, and this is searchable with the Ursatron. So I like only playing 1 of this and 2 of the ritual spell, but do as you please, I'll be honest. These ratios are fine as well. Then I'm on 3 Drytron Nova. I was playing 2 for the longest time, but it's an additional starter, and it gives us a turn even under Shifter because you can use Nova, especially Nu-2, and then do the Beta Rastaban line I mentioned earlier, where you return Nu-2 to the graveyard, and then you can at the very least make a Fako and pass a turn. So Drytron Nova is great even if we play against Exorcist or something and we get Shifter. Then the other starters that are not Drytron cards, we are playing 2 copies of the Mathematician. The Mathematician is really fun because he technically is a Foolish Burial in this deck. He sends any level 4 or lower monster from the deck to the graveyard. So with the exception of like these 4 monsters, we can send any monster in our deck to the graveyard. And he even draws us a card if he gets destroyed by battle. I had a match against Exosister, for example, where I used the Mathematician, did a Foolish of a Nu-2, was able to like bait a crow with the Nu-2, and then I could crash the Mathematician for a draw, which then drew me into a Cyber Emergency. Like, Mathematician is decent, but he's like not searchable, and obviously he's only a hard once per turn because you have to normal summon him. So I wouldn't play him at 3. He's still not great if you go second, but at least the addition of being able to draw a card if he's destroyed by battle and you can just crash him yourself is a nice feature. Then I was playing 2 copies of Jack in the Hand. Jack in the Hand is nice, but if you play against a good player, they most of the time will choose the right card, and because Alpha Thuban is so heavily pointed, we can't reveal Alpha Thuban with this. If you reveal a Nu-2 with this, your opponent can choose the Nu-2 and then special summon it themselves. So there's that. And with any other reveal, it's not that great. Like Cyber Emergency is better all of the time, because Cyber Emergency can search the big ritual monsters and it can search Alpha Thuban reliably. If you reveal Alpha Thuban, your opponent is always going to choose the Alpha Thuban because they know that's the pointed card. And for the last searcher, we are playing 3 copies of Where Are Thou? This can search all the level 1s. It needs you to already kind of have combo though, because it needs you to have a level 1 monster on your side of the field. So if you just open like 3 Where Are Thou and 2 ritual monsters, you can't get into combo. It's still a really, really good card. This isn't a once per turn either, so you can play 3 without being punished for it. And this searches a Didi Crow or a Kurikara as well. Searchable Kaijus are always really nice in this format because so many decks end on boards that really hate being Kaiju'd. So yeah, searching a Kurikara is really, really fun. I also had a match against branded Dracotail where I was able to Kurikara them for 5. So yeah, Kurikara is a fun card and it's really nice that we can search it. It also helps sometimes to just be able to search a crow. Like sometimes your opponent has some nasty card in the graveyard that you want to get rid of. It's a great card, Where Are Thou? But I personally have been punished way too many times by drawing like 3 Where Are Thou and 2 bricks. Like, it's a searcher, but it's not great. And for the other points that we are playing in the main deck, because so far we are only playing 33 points for this card, we are playing 2 Ghost Mourner and 2 Ghost Ogre. These are the only hand traps we can afford, sadly, because Drytron is really heavily pointed in Genesys format. But they sometimes came in clutch, so it's nice that you can play a few cheap hand traps. It would be way better if we could afford like a Fuba, but for the time being we can't do that. The second Drytron card that's pointed in Genesys format is Drytron Mu Beta Fafnir. This is a really, really good card, and if you play against Drytron, you should probably always imperm this or Veiler this. Imperm is probably too expensive for most decks in Genesys format, but always Veiler this if you have the opportunity. It sends any Drytron card from the deck to the graveyard on summon, and you can use its Xyz materials for an Xyz summon, for a ritual summon rather. So you can use this and both Xyz materials to make a dad, which oftentimes you do on the 5th summon, and this can unbrick your hands by like sending a ritual spell, so you can return a ritual spell even if they negated a Zeta Alibar, or like sending any of the big ritual monsters even if the Alpha Thuban got negated. It's a really, really, really good card, and you can choose to cut the hand traps and cut the Zeus that's coming later on in the extra deck and play a second copy of this if you want to. It's really, really, really good, but at 33 points, it's quite expensive. For the other monsters, I'm mainly playing rank 1s. The Toddler never really came up. Technically, it's like a bad Fakko, but also sometimes a slightly better Fakko, because he can like be a board wipe or become a board wipe, but I never really went into him. And the rank 1s you can make if you go first. the Sylvian Princess Sprite. This can draw you a card or like mill you a Drytron name, because if this excavates a monster, it sends it to the graveyard, and if it excavates a spell or trap, you add it to the hand. And like 99% of our monsters we want in the graveyard, and all of the spell traps we want in the hand. So this is a great card. One copy of this Lyrilisk monster. This can search as Crow if we go first, and technically this can like inflict damage to our opponent as well. If we are up in life points, we can crash with this into an opponent's monster. And then an Ensemble Robin. This can be multiple special summon bounces, which is really nice. For the cards that are good to stall and that can make Zeus, we are playing 2 Assembled Nightingale. This is great in some situations. I, for example, had a situation where I played against Mimighoul and they can attack directly. And Assembled Nightingale prevents all battle damage, like not just battle damage from itself or from battles involving this card. It just straight up prevents all battle damage. And it can't be destroyed by battle or card effects, or rather all Lyrilisk monsters can't be destroyed by battle or card effect. So this is really good if your opponent has only attack position monsters and you would crash something like Fako if you want to attack into something. And it's good if you want to just blanket protect you from battle damage. And we are playing 2 copies because Cool Tune is quite common in this meta, and we don't want to get 1 copy of this banished and only play 1. So we are playing 2 copies of the most important cards that we can afford to. That's why we are playing 2 copies of Fako as well. This just is unaffected by all card effects, and we can detach 2 materials from this, and it can't be destroyed by battle. This means that you can summon this, and if your opponent controls something in defense position, you can just attack with this and then make a Zeus, and you guaranteed get into the Zeus. But because it has to detach 2 materials, if your opponent only controls monsters in attack position, you can't really use this. Like you can detach 2 from this, and then in main phase 2 make a downard, but then your opponent can just get rid of the downard. So Fako isn't that great if you want to make Zeus. We obviously are playing a downard as well as a Zeus. Zeus comes at the heavy cost of 20 points, but it's still fine, and it's a kind of mandatory because there's so many things you want to out, and he's so good at breaking boards. Oftentimes you would just make a rank 1 in main 1, make a Zeus, and then continue playing after resolving the Zeus. So Zeus is a good card. For the last Xyz monsters, we are playing a full armored utopic lens ray. This technically can become another Zeus material if you like use Fako and then downard and then this. He can also like attack multiple times. It sometimes comes up, but yeah, he's not that important. I would still recommend to play him. 1 number F0 and the one that doesn't cost points. He's okay, but he's not great. Like the best thing he does is that you can like use a negated Mubeta Fafnir as well as the Lyrilisk that searches you the Crow to make him, and then you can protect your Assemble Robin from being destroyed by battle or targeted by card effects. It's fine. It doesn't do much. He can also become a beatstick. Like I had a situation where I played against a Dragon Ruler player, and he had multiple rank 7s as well as a Typhon on their side of the field. And this guy gains 500 attack for every single rank of the Xyz monsters in your graveyard and Xyz monsters your opponent controls. So this guy was on like 23,000 attack points. So he can become a huge beatstick, and he's just a decent card overall. And finally, in our extra deck, we are playing a little bit of spice. We are playing a single copy of El Shadol Construct. Construct is there for Shadol Fusion that we got in our side deck. In this side deck, we are playing 4 cards for going first, and the other 11 cards are just for going second. For going first, we pretty much always side out the Kurikara, and hand traps we don't need in the matchup. And we side in a copy of Bethos Buster. Bethos Buster is a machine ritual monster, which is important because of the no 2 lock, and he can add a Magiki Unlocking from our deck to the hand. This is a counter trap, and it's a spell trap negate, and then can change the attribute of all monsters your opponent controls until the end of the turn. This sometimes is important. I, for example, had a matchup against a Radiant Typhoon player that was playing the Winder Charmer, and that one says that you can only use wind monster effects until the end of the turn. So I changed their monsters to Divine, and they couldn't use any monster effects until the end of the turn, which was kind of nice. This guy also has 2000 attack, so he's really easy to make. You can just use any Drytron name, and then you can already make him. And for the other going first cards, I'm playing 2 copies of Drag Down into the Grave. I really love this card. Technically, it's like a hand rip. You can get full hand knowledge and then discard a hand trap your opponent has. And your opponent most likely will just discard a Drytron name. Because if you have like 4 Drytron names in hand and then use Drag Down into the Grave, your opponent really doesn't benefit from the hand trip because you can just declare the Drytrons from the graveyard. The best thing an opponent had when I resolved this was like discard a ritual monster, because I like can't declare that one in the graveyard at least, but it still wasn't great, and I was able to get rid of like 2 nips as well as a bell with this. So yeah, it's a really crazy card. I would probably play 3 of this in the future. For the going second cards, we are playing 3 copies of Dark Ruler no more, because this has 0 points for some reason. 3 copies of Shadow Fusion, as well as 1 Beast and 1 Dragon. You can technically play less copies of the fusion materials, but it's kind of dangerous, because I really don't want like some cool tune player, for example, to banish one of the materials if they rip our deck, or I really don't want our opponents to like attach one of the materials with the redoer as well. So I chose to play 2 of the fusion materials just in case our opponent is able to get rid of one of them. I know it adds 1 more brick, but it also makes the ceiling a little bit higher, because you can use Shadow Fusion, go into a construct, and then you can chain block the dragon, get a spell trap bounce, and you can use the construct to send a beast and then draw in another card. So this is a Foolish Burial, because it sends a light monster to the graveyard, a Upstart Goblin, because it draws 1, and it's like a Mystical Space Typhoon, because it gets rid of a spell trap our opponent has. And it gives us a buddy that can like pop an opponent's special summon monster if it attacks it. It's a really, really, really good card if it resolves, but it didn't come up much, I'll be honest. I, for example, had a match against Mimighoul where I was going second and they just didn't end on any monsters that were special summon from the extra deck. And I was playing against Odeon, and he could technically have chained his redoer to banish itself. He didn't and lost the match because of that, but yeah, it has its ups and downs. You will sometimes just have Shadow Fusion in hand and your opponent refuses to end on any monsters from the extra deck. And for the last 3 cards in the side deck, we are playing 3 copies of Twin Twister, because we don't care about the discard at all. My matchups were interesting. I played against a ton of different decks. I had 2 cool tune matchups, which I both lost, but one of the matchups was against the eventual winner of the whole tournament, so I'm not too sad about that, because I think you can lose against the YCS winner. It was a really close matchup as well. I only had 1-2 losses against cool tune players, and all of the losses were really close. My only 0-2 loss was an 0-2 against Mimighoul, because he opened the nuts. Like, he opened double Book of Eclipse as well as a Mourner in our game 1, and in game 2 he just had like Trust, Imperm, and something else too. So you can't really beat that if you're playing Drytron. Yeah, I was really, really hyped with how this deck performed. I played against Branded Dracotail in round 1 and beat them. I played against a Dragon Ruler player in round 2 and beat them. I played against a Radiant Typhoon player in round 3 and beat them. Then I lost against Cool Tune. This was the eventual winner of the whole tournament. I had a few other matchups, which I'm going to put up here. The one notable thing I gotta mention is that in my round 10, I beat my opponent and they conceded, but a judge mistakenly entered a double loss for us. And I went to the public event stage, but they couldn't change anything. So On paper, I got a 7-4 result, but in practice, I went 8-3 with this deck because my only losses were 2 cool tune players and one one very good player. I had a really interesting run on day 2 because I was able to beat an Exosister player after losing the die roll, for example. I really thought that I would lose that duel, but somehow I won, even though they shifted me in game 2 and in game 3, and a ton of other really fun things and really interesting things happened in the tournament. If you want to know more about that, I'm gonna upload a vlog on my YouTube channel as well. There's gonna be a link to the vlog up here where I'm pointing. And if you want to see more videos like this, if you want to see more decks like this, maybe more Genesys decks, then leave a sub down below. You can also write down in the comments which deck you want to see next, and I'll do my darn best to make a video about it. I was glad to finally play Drytron and undust the deck after quite some time. I had a top with this deck some time ago when Ryzeal just dropped. And with the new ban list, I don't know how capable this deck will be in the TCG, but I am at the very least very hyped for this deck's future in Genesys format, because I think it's a really fun deck to play. It's an engine deck that doesn't rely on like a ton of hand traps. It's more of a breaker deck, and it is always way more fun to be able to play through boards than to just rely on hand traps, and this deck can definitely do that. I think that after the next points update, this deck will get another power boost, because probably Fissure is going to get points, probably Cool Tune is going to get nerfed, and this deck will shine and go to the moon. As already mentioned, if you want to leave down a sub down below. I'm on my road to 1,000 subscribers right now, and every single sub helps. And if you want to chat with me or play with me, then you can join the Remote-Duel-Brotherhood. There's a link down in the description of the video as well. I'll see you in the next video, and until then, stay safe.